Hi everybody, it's Willie's American Guitars. We've got a couple of guitars here from the late 60s. I've done a video recently about 1965 being this big crossover point where these factories went from small factories and all of a sudden they bloomed. Gibson, for instance, at the beginning of 1950 did about 5,000 guitars a year. That's electrics, acoustics, but because rock and roll hit, by 1965, 15 years later, they did 100,000 a year, and things really bloomed. But pre-CBS Strats, pre-65, will go for a lot more than late 60s. Pre-65 Gibsons will go for a lot more than the late 60s. But the late 60s, when compared to the rest of it, the late 60s is still a great time for guitars. They're still mostly handmade, select woods that they just can't get these days. Woods that are just not there. It's not available. The trees are gone. I got this is a 68 SG. And you guys know this, but the Les Paul, which was famous because Les Paul was famous in the 50s, was discontinued in 1961 in favor of the SG. And the SG was really more modern. They were dealing with the Telecaster and the Stratocaster. Really, the SG was Gibson's response to that thoroughly modern Stratocaster. And with its double cutaway design, it was pretty cool. So we didn't get any Les Pauls until 1968. This 1968 SG is really a remarkable guitar. It's That 68 SG comes with its original hang tags. It's quite flamey. The mahogany, if you see, has amazing figure. Mahogany trees generally don't figure. It's one of the rarest woods is to get figured mahogany. If you go to Martin figured mahogany guitars are made in extremely limited numbers. We also have this. This is a 1961 SG Les Paul, and you might have heard me talk about this before, but this is an SG Les Paul because when they switched from the Les Paul body back to the SG body, they called it a Les Paul because, well, they figured that would be what Les Paul wanted, but no. Les Paul got pissed, so they called it something quick. We're building them. We got to call it Solid Guitar, SG. Most of you know that, but for those that don't, it's really rare to get these old guitars from the original owner like this one has. This has the rather infamous side-to-side tremolo, but it's in really good original condition. Lightweight, a great find. Guitars have gone up for a long time. So they didn't make any guitars. This is a 61 SG. They didn't make the single-cut Les Pauls all through the 60s until as this 1968 catalog, they reintroduced the Les Paul as a gold top and a black custom. Those were the only two colors you could get it in 1968. These were, many of them, made from old bodies, and they'll go for $20,000 and more if they're original. However, for you guys today, we have this is a 1969 Les Paul, and this is the Les Paul Deluxe. The Les Paul Deluxe still has the old wood. It's a non-sandwiched body. It is made of old wood, like I said before, more handmade, and in '69 they still weren't making that many of these guitars. This is fairly rare. For those of you that do a lot of vintage, it does not have a Made in USA stamp. There's no Made in USA. In 1970, they were worried about Japanese imports. They made sure to put Made in USA because the Made in Japan guitars were starting to come in, and it was making them worried. They wanted to make sure that people know they were buying the highest quality. There's no volute back here either. They added that later on to help prevent headstock breakage. But with the less mass and the lack of volute is preferred for tone, for thumb placement. Humbuckers are great. They actually are a little brighter, more like Fender, but there's some thump on them. They're much different than a Fender, but that was kind of Gibson's thinking in the time as they introduced these mini humbuckers, no longer on the Epiphone guitars, now on their mainstream Gibson Les Paul Deluxe. Later, these came in different colors, sunburst, and custom options. But for this era, this is really a rare guitar. It is a refinished top. The back has been oversprayed, but that's the original finish. You can see all the sexy dings and nicks that are on that. This guitar is really a great guitar, getting harder and harder to find. I'd rather you sold me your 1969 Les Paul Gold Top than we sold this, because I love this guitar. Owning a guitar like this is a piece of American history. Owning a guitar like this is a privilege. You don't own it. You only get to keep it for a while, and then you're going to hand it down to someone else. You just look after it. This is a chance to own one. This being refinished cuts off about 35–40%. It's a good refinish job. It looks better in person in photographs, is the first thing I said when I opened up the box. So there you go. I've got a second part to this that relates to Fenders, but I'm going to stop this video right now. Watch this. This is like the pros do it.